Welcome to War Bios, the podcast where we delve into the fascinating lives of history's most influential military leaders. I'm your host, General Biography. Today, we're going to explore the life of Heinz Guderian, a German general who revolutionized the art of warfare with his pioneering work on armored tactics. Born on June 17, 1888, in Kulm, West Prussia, Guderian's early life was marked by a strong sense of discipline and duty, which would later shape his military career. Guderian's family was deeply rooted in the German military tradition. His father, Friedrich Guderian, was a major in the Prussian army, and his grandfather had fought in the Franco-Prussian War. This legacy of military service instilled in Heinz a strong sense of patriotism and duty from an early age. The family's home in Kulm was a modest one, with a strict routine that emphasized education, physical fitness, and moral character. As a child, Guderian was fascinated by technology and innovation. He spent hours building model trains and experimenting with clockwork mechanisms, skills that would later serve him well in his development of armored warfare tactics. His parents encouraged his curiosity, providing him with books on history, science, and literature. The young Guderian devoured the works of German philosophers like Immanuel Kant and Friedrich Nietzsche, as well as the military treatises of Karl von Clausewitz. In 1895, the Guderian family moved to Berlin, where Heinz began his education at the Victoria Gymnasium. He excelled in his studies, particularly in mathematics, geography, and languages. His parents' emphasis on education and personal development helped shape his strategic thinking and informed his later writings on armored warfare. In 1901, Guderian enrolled in the Prussian Cadet School in Berlin, a prestigious institution that had produced some of Germany's most distinguished military leaders. The school's rigorous curriculum included courses on mathematics, physics, and languages, as well as training in sword fighting, riding, and drill. Guderian excelled in his studies, graduating at the top of his class in 1907. As a Fahnenjunker, or officer cadet, in the 10th Hanoverian Jäger Battalion, Guderian underwent rigorous training, learning the intricacies of infantry tactics, marksmanship, and leadership. His early years as a junior officer were marked by discipline, duty, and a growing fascination with the potential of new technologies, including machine guns, airplanes, and armored vehicles. During this period, Guderian was heavily influenced by his superiors, who instilled in him the importance of adaptability, initiative, and strategic thinking. He also developed strong relationships with his fellow officers, many of whom would later become key figures in the development of German armored forces. The seeds of Guderian's future greatness were sown in these formative years as he absorbed the lessons of history, honed his tactical skills, and developed the strategic thinking that would one day revolutionize the art of warfare. His experiences during this period laid the foundation for his later achievements as a tank commander and strategist, and set him on a path towards becoming one of the most influential military minds of the 20th century. The years ahead would be marked by turmoil, innovation, and transformation as Guderian navigated the complexities of modern warfare and emerged as a pioneer in the art of armored combat. The war had a profound impact on Guderian, who became increasingly fascinated with the potential of new technologies to break the stalemate on the Western Front. He was particularly drawn to the development of tanks, which he saw as a key component in any future war. In the aftermath of World War I, Guderian became a vocal advocate for the development of armored forces within the German military. He was heavily influenced by the writings of British theorists like J.F.C. Fuller and Basil Liddell Hart, who argued that tanks could be used to restore mobility to the battlefield and achieve decisive victories. Guderian's own experiences during the war had taught him the importance of adaptability, initiative, and strategic thinking, and he saw armored warfare as a way to combine these elements in a new and innovative way. In 1922, Guderian was appointed to the Inspectorate of Transport Troops, where he began to develop his ideas about armored warfare in earnest. He worked closely with other like-minded officers, including Ernst Volkheim and Oswald Lutz, to design and test new tank prototypes. Guderian's vision for armored warfare emphasized speed, maneuverability, and surprise. and he argued that tanks should be used in concentrated formations to achieve maximum impact on the battlefield. Guderian's ideas were not without controversy, however. Many of his superiors remained skeptical about the potential of armored forces, and some even saw them as a threat to traditional infantry tactics. But Guderian persevered, using his charisma and persuasive abilities to win over key allies within the military. He also began to write extensively on armored warfare, producing a series of influential articles and books that helped to spread his ideas throughout the German military. One of Guderian's most important works from this period is his book Achtung, Panzer, which was published in 1937. In it, he laid out his vision for armored warfare in detail, arguing that tanks should be used as a combined arms team, working closely with infantry, artillery, and air support to achieve decisive victories. The book was a huge success, not only within the German military but also among foreign observers, who recognized Guderian as one of the leading thinkers on armored warfare. As the 1930s drew to a close, Guderian's star was rising rapidly within the German military. He had become a key advisor to Adolf Hitler, who shared his enthusiasm for armored forces and saw them as a key component in any future war. In 1938, Guderian was appointed to command the 2nd Panzer Division, which would go on to play a major role in the invasion of Poland and the Battle of France. Guderian's experiences during these campaigns cemented his reputation as one of the leading tank commanders of World War II. He demonstrated a mastery of armored tactics, using his tanks to outmaneuver and overwhelm enemy forces at every turn. His emphasis on speed, surprise, and combined arms teamwork paid off time and again as he led his division to victory after victory. The years ahead would be marked by turmoil, innovation, and transformation as Guderian navigated the complexities of modern warfare and emerged as one of the most influential military minds of the 20th century. In 1941, he was appointed to command the Panzergruppe II, which would go on to play a major role in the invasion of the Soviet Union, known as Operation Barbarossa. Guderian's experiences during this campaign were marked by both triumph and tragedy as he led his panzer group deep into Soviet territory, capturing key cities and inflicting heavy losses on the enemy. However, the invasion of the Soviet Union also proved to be a turning point in Guderian's career. As the campaign dragged on, he found himself at odds with Hitler and other senior German commanders, who were increasingly frustrated by the slow pace of progress and the heavy casualties being suffered by the German army. In 1941, Guderian was relieved of his command and sent back to Germany, where he would remain in limbo for several months. In 1943, Guderian was recalled to duty and appointed as the Inspector General of Armored Troops, a position that gave him responsibility for overseeing the development and deployment of Germany's armored forces. Despite the challenges facing the German army at this time, Guderian remained optimistic about the potential of armored warfare to turn the tide of the war. He worked tirelessly to improve the design and performance of German tanks, and to develop new tactics and strategies that would allow them to be used more effectively on the battlefield. As the war drew to a close, Guderian found himself at odds with Hitler once again, this time over the question of whether to continue fighting or to seek a negotiated surrender. In March 1945, he was dismissed as Inspector General of Armored Troops and replaced by a more loyal officer. Guderian spent the final months of the war in retirement, watching as the German army collapsed and the Allies advanced deep into Germany. After the war, Guderian was captured by the Americans and held for several years as a prisoner of war. During this time, he wrote his memoirs, which would eventually be published as Panzer Leader, one of the most influential and widely read accounts of World War II. In the book, Guderian reflected on the lessons of the war and offered his thoughts on how armored warfare could be used more effectively in the future. Guderian's legacy is complex and multifaceted, reflecting both the triumphs and the tragedies of his career. On the one hand, he was a true pioneer in the field of armored warfare, whose ideas and innovations helped to shape the course of modern military history. On the other hand, he was also a senior officer in the German army during World War II, and as such, he bears some responsibility for the atrocities and devastation that were committed during that conflict. His contributions to the development of armored warfare continue to be felt today, and his memoirs remain an essential read for anyone interested in military history. Yet, we must also acknowledge the darker aspects of his legacy and strive to learn from the mistakes of the past. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, I'm General Biography reminding you to keep marching toward victory.